Hello and welcome back to Princess Evangile. Summer vacation was nearing its end, and the majority of students who had gone home were coming back. The last Saturday of the summer vacation hosts the final and greatest event. It's known as the Evening Star Gathering. The Evening Star Gathering? Wow, what did they do? Just the description, final and greatest, was enough to pique my interest. We all lie down on the ground and gaze up at the starry sky. Right. And? That is all. Huh? Excuse me. I've neglected Sister Mishima. The sister also explains the constellations. Is that it? Yes. Isn't that kind of plain? Well, I guess it's like a natural planetarium, but that's not great either. Maybe it's more fun than I'm imagining. Yeah. The major point of the Evening Star Gathering is who you spend it with. Who you spend it with. There are blankets spread out on the ground for us to lie on with just enough space for two. Do you see what I'm getting at? Not sure how to put this. Lying there in the darkness, looking up at the stars and talking, it brings you closer together. You can talk about things you wouldn't normally. There's quite a bit of distance between you, so you have to speak loudly to be heard. Who did you lie with last year, Riku-san? With Chio-san. Hey, that's nothing to start blushing about. But I do feel as though we grew closer on that night. Well, true. What about you, Rai-san? My friendship with Mitsuki-san was already strained by that point. I did invite her, but she turned me down. I see. What about you, Ayaka-san? Oh, you know me. I'm a lost lamb, so nobody wanted to lie with me. But I've got big hopes for this year. Seiku's here after all. I'm surprised that school rules permit that kind of thing. That's true. It's probably because you just talk. It's not necessarily a sexual thing. I guess you're right about that. But if I were with Maseki, that might just change. Yeah! Just kidding. Obviously the school rules forbid that kind of thing. As she spoke, Ayaka-san pulled out a large piece of paper. This is the seating chart. Everyone has one. Seating chart. It was a diagram of the school grounds, with numbers marking each seat. Venice loves its regimentation, so I guess it stands to reason they'd have something like this. But there's another way to use it. You can find out where the people you want to see will be. Seku, and I'm class 3D number 6. Scratch, scratch. Ayaka-san circled the number on the map. I'll be waiting. Huh? I'm right here. Scratch, scratch. Salutations. Chio-san, I've rarely heard you use the salutations greeting. We're in the same class as you know, but you might not remember my number, so just to be safe, here. Scratch, scratch. I'm quite knowledgeable about constellations. I'll explain them to you if you like, so... Sister Mishima will be explaining the constellations. You don't have to bring that up now! Oh my. Riku-san looked closely at the paper. I'm rather close to Chio's seat, the Ka from Kaiyami, and the Sa from Sigwasai. What? I should circle it with a flower so you know not to confuse the two of us. Scratch, scratch. Salutations. Wow, she really drew a flower. Like Ayaka-san said, using this chart would make it easy to find the person you wanted to spend the evening with. The last evening of summer vacation, huh? It seemed like a good opportunity. And according to the chart, everyone was by themselves, at least at the start. We almost always did things as a group. There wasn't anything wrong with that, of course. We'd had a lot of fun together. But sometimes I thought it might be nice to be alone with someone. But constellations... I'd looked up at the stars around the equator before, but I knew almost nothing about the constellations. I knew we'd be getting an explanation, but I thought it might be good to study up anyway, so I headed for the computers. Oh, it's gotten pretty late. I turned off the lights and left the rec room. There's a lot of mythology about constellations. I hadn't even known the basics before now. Just as I was leaving the rec room, I was passed by Ritsuko-chan. Oh, bloody hell. Told you before. Yeah, they write the word yawn and I immediately start yawning. Ugh, there was nothing I can do about that. I'm so exhausted from homework. She wasn't sure how it compared to other schools, but Venice's certainly gave out a lot of homework. And so she had come to the rec room for a breather. At the entrance she'd passed by Messiah, and wondered if he'd come for the same reason. Huh? What's this? Lying on the table was a seating chart for the Evening Star gathering. He must have forgotten it. Ritsuko picked it up and looked back down the hall. Messiah-san... I thought I heard a voice. Was someone calling me? I walked back and turned round the corner to look down the hall, but didn't see anyone. Maybe it was something else. It sounded like Messiah, but maybe I'd just misheard. I turned around again and went back to my room. Ritsuko clamped her hand over her mouth, and though there was no need, she even stopped her breathing. She counted to 10, scanned the hallway with a sniper's precision. Messiah wasn't there. Ritsuko let out a long sigh, and her chest hurt as if she had just run a marathon. She sat down and looked over the paper again. 1, 2, 3, 4. There were 4 circles drawn on the paper. Ritsuko could easily guess what it meant. And I wonder if this really is Messiah-sama's. It was very unlikely it could belong to someone else, but... Class 3D number 6. That must be Sister's place. She didn't know her sister's number by heart, but she was certain she was in Class D. Though it was somewhat contrary to her image, the other students had always seen Ayaka as somewhat unapproachable. She wondered if her sister had finally found a student she felt comfortable with. Anyway, 4 people. There can't be many people so unchaste at this school. The more she thought about it, the more it seemed inescapable that it belonged to Messiah. And when she looked the way that the circles were drawn, she realised that the girls themselves must have added them. She found herself scanning the front and back for no particular reason, and she wondered why she'd stopped herself from calling him back, even to the point of holding her breath. My number is 1A, number 5. She traced her finger along the paper till it rested on the number 5 under Class 1A. And without realising it, she picked up a pen with her right hand. Scratch, scratch. Nah! The chair let out a clatter as she rose from it, and the paper dropped down onto the table, and she quickly clamped a hand down on top of it. And she fearfully looked down at the paper. She couldn't believe it, that there was a circle around Ritsuko's seat number. It can't be. And she realised she still had the pen in her hand, and she dropped it hastily, as though it had transformed into some horrible bug. And the pen rolled along the table. Ritsuko stared blankly down at it, and the paper, which now had 5 circles on it. I did it. Without even thinking. How could I... Oh, Wanasama! Oh, maybe she didn't hear me. She wasn't so far away that she shouldn't have heard her, but Ritsuko just ran off without saying anything. Oh, Wanasama really was acting strange just now. She frowned, and the way she had run out of the room had been strange. Perhaps she'd gotten into a fight with someone. Konomi approached the room, her body tense. What the... There's nobody here? She checked the corners as well, just to be safe, but the rec room was definitely deserted. That's odd. No, what's this? There was a pen rolling along the table, and next to it was an Evening Star gathering seating chart. There are 5 circles? What a dilettante. Wait, And her eyes were drawn to a certain spot. Class 1A, number 5. That was Ritsuko's number. Did Wanasama do this? Why would it make her run out of the room? Huh? It was obvious. This paper belonged to Messiah. There was no one among the Philid of Venices who would be so unchaste. Okay, yeah. Ritsuko must have come to the same conclusion and been shocked when she saw her own number circled. Grr! After returning to my room, I realised I'd left something behind, so I started to head back to the rec room. Ah, Konomi-chan. What's wrong? What do you think? Konomi-chan's face was unusually blank for some reason. It had me a little worried. Is something up? You came all the way to our dorm. I came to take a break and visit Wanasama. As she was not in her room, I thought she might be here, however... Oh, I passed her a little bit earlier. No response. Something was definitely wrong. Oh, that's... So this paper is yours after all, is it? Yeah. She handed it over to me silently. I took it hesitantly. Why was she so angry with me? Bye. Yeah? Salutations? Yeah, well, maybe she's just in a bad mood or something. I glanced down at the paper. Something seemed different about it. I suppose I've grown up a little bit. One Osama said that I was once deeply biased. That's why I censure people. I don't know how to handle being wrong. And she's right. That's why this time, Konomi had restrained herself. She had expended tremendous effort to stay focused and keep from speaking her mind. I still don't know what Masaya-san will do on the day itself. But still, I had to stop thinking of her Tarantulas serpent. And for so long. But maybe I was wrong. Judge not, lest ye be judged. That's always a good quote. I like that one. Huh? I realised what had seemed odd about the paper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's an extra circle on it. When had that gotten there? Who put it there? It was someone in final course, so it couldn't be Konomi-chan. Maybe I can look it up on the school network? I'll try tomorrow. The evening star gathering. It was the final Saturday of summer vacation, and a sense of restlessness ran through the dorms. They'd all been waiting for this day. And then, the night came, and the bell rang to signal the start of the event, and I left my room. I hadn't seen the halls so crowded in quite some time, and the atmosphere was high with expectation. Blankets were spread out over the grounds at regular intervals, and the summer events were all handled by the association, so I'd helped out earlier that evening. We'd been unusually quiet as we worked. Maybe that had been intentional. I lay down in my own spot. It was more comfortable than I'd expected. The night sky was bright and beautiful, probably due to the lack of artificial lighting. You couldn't see a sky like this in the city. Talking together while looking up this sky, that doesn't sound bad at all. We will now begin the evening star gathering. I, Mishima, will perform my yearly duty of describing the constellations. I will begin with the Milky Way. If you will all lie facing northward, it will be easier to explain. Now, from below your feet in the south, running diagonally over your head, you'll see a shimmering belt of stars. In English, it is called the Milky Way, but in Japan it is known as the River of Stars. In the east, we see it shining as a river, but in the west, they think of it as milk. And I think that's quite amusing. Now, the most conspicuous stars in the Milky Way are Vega and Altair, in other words, Hyakkobushi and Orihime. Vega is the conspicuously bright star on the river's right bank. Do you see it? Vega is part of the Lyre constellation, and to the left of it, I think you can see 4 stars in the shape of a parallelogram. Altair is just across the river. He's also bright, although not as bright as Vega. And Altair is part of the Aquila constellation. When you hear the tale of the weaver and the cowherd, it might not make sense to you. However, when you look up at the River of Stars, I think the story really comes alive. Now, next up... Sister Mishima finished her explanation and took her leave. And then, as if they had been waiting for this moment, the students began to move. No offense to Sister Mishima, but this was the main event. Okay, so where am I going to go? Yes, apparently, from what I have heard, you don't actually have a choice. You know, if you pick anyone other than the one you've been picking up until now, the game will pretty much immediately start beating you around the head for doing it, and you'll just get a bad ending instantly. This is what I have read. I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but... So, off to see Ayaka. Huh? I went to a seat, but Ayaka-san wasn't there. Did I get the wrong place? I tried to be careful, but the grounds were so large. There weren't any obvious landmarks. Maybe she went to see someone else? No, that doesn't seem likely. If she were going to see someone else, she wouldn't have marked herself on my diagram. Maybe she was teasing me again. I hope not, though. I walked slowly between the blankets, feeling various eyes on me. It was dark out, with only starlight to guide me. The students around me looked like shadowy figures, their forms and faces indistinct. And there were some blankets that didn't have anyone on them, while others housed couples. I didn't quite get the same-sex relationship thing, but I found myself envying the intimate couples, huddled close together, staring up at the stars. Weird. I'd definitely gotten the place right, but I was just craning my neck around when suddenly I heard a sharp voice from nearby. "Just stop it already!" The girl was truly trying to keep her voice down, but there was unmistakable irritation to it. She was standing on the blanket and looking down at her partner. "I've had enough of your teasing! Salutations!" With that as a final word, the girl briskly walked away. It was clear that she was angry. When she was gone, her partner stood up. I could hear soft noises of recognition rise from the watching crowd, and I heard a few of their hushed conversations too. Was that Ayaka-sama? She's surely doing something odd again. Ayaka-san. I quickly moved closer. Ayaka-san? Oh, Maseko. Oh dear. Were we being that loud? Huh? You didn't come to check on us after you heard her shouting? No, I came here looking for you. I just happened to overhear. What? Really? Yes, really. You put the mark here yourself, didn't you? I held up the seating chart for her to see. And yet I find you wandering around out here. Oh dear. I never expected you to come to me, actually. I felt like she'd said something like that before too. When had it been again? Oh, that's right. It was the first night of summer camp when she walked me back to the dorm. Is it really that strange? I just wanted to... Well, I wanted to look up at the stars with you. Would you mind? Of course. Let's go then. Go where? To my seat. Can't just stand around here, can we? Right. As Ayaka-san stood up and started walking, she nonchalantly took my hand. Ayaka-san. The suddenness of it had me a little hesitant. So we don't get separated. There's no light after all. Well, that's true. I had a long look around, and as expected, we were at the centre of attention. For a man and a woman to walk hand in hand, especially to the maidens of the prestigious all-girls academy, a pretty rare sight to see. Don't worry about them, don't worry about them. Right. Or do you not like holding hands with me? Of course that's not true. Very well then. Look, I don't mind, but are you sure you really want to attract more attention? I picked up an air of exasperation from the girls around us. I don't mind. I'm used to it. There's nothing they can say to faze me now. We both sat down on Ayaka-san's blanket. Okay, Ayaka-san, what happened back there? Sounded like you and that girl were having a real fight. Yeah, I guess I was sort of venting. Venting? I was really thinking you wouldn't come to see me, you know? I didn't know how serious she was being, but it was clear that she hadn't gotten the other girl angry. I wonder why, I murmured to myself. Huh? I realised it wasn't polite to trail off like that, so I decided to speak my mind to her. I didn't go to anyone else. Ayaka-san, I went to you. I don't know if there's anything strange about that. I said it before too. I tried to meet her eyes as I spoke, but Ayaka-san looked away. Listen, Before she could begin though, someone else arrived beside us. Sister? Ritsuko? It was Ritsuki, but she wasn't alone. There was someone else just behind her. I heard everything. You went to see Haruna-sama. Then you got her name wrong repeatedly. Just persistently, every time. I've told you this time and time again to stop this. You're extremely rude to her, and this event only comes once a year after all. Right. I'm sorry, Haruna. Ayaka-sama apologized abashedly. Ritsuki-chan seemed unprepared for that response. I'm glad to see that you feel remorse. But sister, I wish you would stop these ridiculous games already. Life is not a play. There are no spectators watching you. I felt like I'd heard those words somewhere before. You should be a bit more serious as well, sister. Real life is not a play. There are no spectators watching you. I'm sorry, I agree with Shakespeare on this one. Life is but a play, and the men and women in it are merely players. While I was thinking back on that exchange during the game of life, the other girls left. Mitsuko-chan said something like that earlier. Did she? Please don't pretend. Right. When I watch you two, it seems to me like you're really close, but at the same time I feel like there's a tension between you. And at that time, Ayaka-san also said something to Ritsuko-chan I didn't quite understand. Oh my. Are you that concerned for our relationship? I guess... yeah, I am. I thought about it for a moment and then nodded. I am concerned. You thought you could get us both at the same time, eh? Please don't tease me, I'm being serious. By the way, you started to say something before, didn't you? Before? Right before Ritsuko arrived, you said, "Listen, I." Right. Yeah, that's right, I just had a good idea. Ayaka-san's eyes flashed and she leaned towards me slightly, and a light sweet fragrance tickled at my nose. If you really want to know about Ritsuko and what I was about to say, you have to take me on a date tomorrow. A date? Yeah. What do you think? Are you teasing me again? Do I look like I'm lying to you? I felt my eyes drawn to hers. Her eyes gleamed faintly, but I didn't waver. I looked straight back into mine. You don't. And that's why I always manage to trick you, Misei-kun. Oh, no. I'm kidding. But I really am serious. Can we have a date? Sure. I swallowed, but of course I was happy to go on a date with Ayaka-san. It's a promise then. Tomorrow? Right. Where are we going then? I'll figure that out later. For now I'd like to look up at the stars. She moved next to me. Our shoulders were touching and the sweet fragrance grew stronger around me. Hey, Misei-kun, there's something I've been thinking that I really should tell you. Thanks for what you did. What I did? When you came to save me. I realised I never gave you a proper thank you. Is that all? That's all. It's been bothering me all this time. I see. So it's a relief to finally say it, and after everything you did for me, I'd be a pretty bad person if I didn't even thank you. But the cake was really good. That was an apology for before, the plenipotentiary thing. I'd forgotten all about that. Ayaka-san had really strung me along when we were first getting to know each other, but I never held it against her. Maybe it's just because she was so beautiful. Nah, it's not all about appearances. Ayaka-san's just not a bad person. Well, feeding you with my hands was a little extra service at least. Oh, you turned red. I'm just remembering what it felt like. So am I. Ayaka-san turned a little red too. And so we continued talking in that manner as we looked up at the glorious starry sky. And feeling the slight warmth of each other's shoulders, when our bodies touched, felt like our hearts had grown a little closer. And that is the end of chapter 16. Now we're up to 24 minutes. Is that a little short for this part, do we think? Yes, probably, I think. Sins of a Midsummer's Night. Let me guess, they don't allow alcohol on this campus. She sent me an email early the next day, and we decided to go to the summer festival. It's in Tsukushi Shrine, in the next town over. How does that sound? My reply was, sounds good. As the time drew near, I found myself really looking forward to it. And obviously I was happy to be going on a date with a girl, but I was even happier that it was Ayaka-san. She could be flighty, but her charm should be obvious to an objective perspective. Of course, they're obvious to my subjective perspective too. Okay, out of curiosity, objective, subjective, objective, subjective, objective, subjective, perspective. That's really difficult to say at speed. To go to a summer festival with a girl like that. Wow, I really can't wait. There were just a few hours left before we headed out, and the time felt like an eternity. Salutations? Hello. Well, I'm glad we got nice weather today. Seriously, it would be sad if I rained on our first real date. Yeah. Maseki, have you ever been to Sakushi Shrine? No, never. I'd never even heard of it. I see. It'll be my first time there too. Ayaka-san had said it was a 20 to 30 minute train ride from the station. I hear it's a pretty big event, that's why I thought it'd be perfect. Yeah, it's been forever since I've been to a summer festival. Can't wait. Really? Huh? You never went to one with some awesome girlfriend of yours? Never had a girlfriend. Oh, but you're so amazing, Maseki. I don't know about that, it's just... Just what? Look, it's just I didn't have much time, you know, with part-time jobs and all. You don't see many women working on tuna fishing boats and construction sites. Plus, to be honest, I didn't really have, well, the time or the motivation. Well, that makes sense. So in a way, you're just like the students of our school, eh? Like the Venice's students. We've lived our lives with certain things restricted too. Of course, everyone experiences some restriction in their lives, it's just a question of degree. We've had way less freedom than a normal student would. And you're the same way, right, Maseki-kun? Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess that's why, for better or worse, we're all a little bit odd. Really? Yeah! I think the reason the students accepted you is that, to some degree, you smell like one of their own. Well, of course, when I say for better or worse, I mostly mean the former. Yeah, I feel the same way. But when I first came here, I thought that the people of Venice's were strange, for better or worse, but I thought it leaned more towards better. I see. We'd aligned our departure with the timetable, so the bus came right away. I'm surprised there's no one else here. Yeah, well, the school doesn't really encourage participation in summer festivals. But it's summer vacation. Sure, that's why it's just a recommendation, but, well, everyone's so proper that they mostly follow it. Why? It's just a festival. Well, Maseki, I think you know already about the arson incident at the shrine near the school. Happened a long time ago. Yeah. Ayaka-san had caught me looking it up on my computer after I got back from hospital. It's because of that. Mother's strangely sensitive about it for some reason. The headmistress. Yeah, she seems to think history will repeat itself or something like that. Anyway, it's become something of a taboo subject at Venice's summer festivals. Ayaka-san nodded. So if they find out about us... I guess so, but we're already on the blacklist anyway. I don't think it's worth worrying about. Yeah, alright. Ayaka-san studied the route map thoughtfully. I haven't ridden the train very much. I hate that I'm so ignorant about the world. Ah! Found it! There it is. We were the only people there from the school, but the train car was packed, and apparently the festival was popular here in the outside world. Ugh! Riding these packed train cars, it's so uncomfortable. I didn't think it was so bad, but then maybe it was because Ayaka-san hardly ever rode trains. Plus she was a girl and she was surrounded by boys pressing up against her. Ayaka-san, come a little closer. Yeah? And I wrapped my arm around her waist and drew her towards me, and spun around so that her back was against the door. Thanks. It's nothing. Oh, nothing. Whoops. The train shook a little as it went around the curve, and I felt the weight of the other passengers press against my back. I put my hand to the door so I wouldn't crush Ayaka-san. It seemed to be a pretty long curve, so I wouldn't be able to right myself for a while. I felt a hot breath on my neck, and it caused my skin to prickle for a moment. Ayaka-san, Nothing. It's not like she was doing it on purpose. Now that I was aware of it, I couldn't stop thinking about it. The heat and the warmth of her body and that sweet smell. Ayaka-san always smelled so nice. It's pretty uncomfortable, huh? Her face is so red. I guess it's really hot with so many people here. Yeah. When the train started to curve the other way and the pressure finally eased up. Her face is really red. You must be working hard to hold yourself up. Thank you. Yeah. I covered it up with a laugh. Well, since we've now arrived and we're pushing our half hour, end the video time. Sorry. little bit of a stretch there. But it seems to me to be a pretty good point to end this part. So I will say thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next.